Today we are making the ultimate sensitive skin soap. It's perfect for people with drying, sensitive skin, perfect for babies, but let's be honest, I have normal skin type and I love using this soap as well. It has this very creamy, conditioning, gentle lather, and it almost feels like you're washing with a lotion. So even though I do not have sensitive skin, I still use it very often. What's very special about this bar is that it's extremely long lasting and it needs minimum 6 months of curing. Now let me say that again, not 6 weeks of curing as you normally do, but 6 months. So today we're gonna walk through the whole recipe, we're gonna see how you can make this soap, and then we're gonna talk about formulation. What is it that makes this soap suitable for sensitive skin? What are the ingredients, the percentages? And then we're gonna go through the curing process. What is it? Why does it need so long to cure? And trust me on this, the longer you wait, the better. And it's worth the wait. Like patience, really, like it rewards you with this soap. I did not include any essential oil or fragrance oil for this soap, and of course I did that intentionally because it's for people with sensitive skin, and we know that essential oils, fragrance oils might be causing some allergies to some people, so I just removed it completely. But despite that, it still smells like, it just smells like soap. Like it has this very characteristic smell of soap that I actually love. So let's go ahead and start. Before we start, I actually put this recipe down into a PDF and you can have it for free. Just comment, I want this, and I will send you this recipe as soon as I see your comment. It's the exact same, it's the exact percentages you need to follow with the instructions and everything you need in order to make this soap at home. I am very excited for you to see this because honestly, I love making this soap. The whole process, it's so natural, so traditional, and I love the chemistry behind the ingredients. So let's look at the ingredients we're gonna use today. First of all, we're gonna start with olive oil, and as you know, olive oil is high in oleic acid and a bit of linoleic acid. Olive oil is what gives the soap these amazing conditioning properties. So a lot of traditional soaps like the Castile soap, the Marseille soap, the Aleppo soap, they all have one thing in common. They're made with a very high concentration of olive oil. So we're doing the same thing today. We're making a soap with 70% olive oil, and that will add a lot of conditioning properties and create this very beautiful, gentle and conditioning lather. Then we're gonna go ahead with shea butter. Now the special thing about shea butter is that it's high in stearic acid and palmitic acid, and those acids, when they react with lye and produce the saponified version of those acids, which is sodium stearate and sodium palmate, they add a lot of creaminess to the lather. And we're gonna go ahead and add 24% of shea butter. So 70% olive oil, 24% shea butter. Now shea butter will add a lot of creaminess and structure to your soap. And the last ingredient, this is key, it's castor oil. Now castor oil is high in ricinoleic acid, it's a very thick oil actually, and we're only at 6% of that. And the reason we're adding 6% and not more is because castor oil, if you add too much, it might make your soap slightly sticky. So we only want to limit it to 6%, and what that will do is that it will add a lot of thickness to your lather and it will boost your lather. You know, when you hear this soap, conditioning, creamy, thickness, you're like, does this soap bubble? And the truth is that it doesn't bubble that much. Now, what adds bubbles to your soap is actually coconut oil. Coconut oil is high in lauric acid and myristic acid. When those acids react with sodium hydroxide, otherwise known as lye, they create sodium laurate and sodium myristate. And those are the ones, they are the salts that really create a lot of bubbles and cleanliness. Now, here's the thing. Coconut oil is amazing. Coconut oil equals bubbles and cleanliness in soap. And that's why soaps that are used for the dishes, they have to be very cleansing to remove all the fat, and they are made with 90-95% coconut oil concentration to really create a lot of bubbles. But now the story is different. Now we need something that doesn't bubble that much, because something that bubbles and it's very cleansing will also dry out the skin, can also irritate people with very sensitive skin. And that's why we need to completely remove coconut oil. If you do not have very sensitive skin, then what you can do is that you can tweak this recipe to only use 10% coconut oil. Typical soap making recipes, they include anything between 25 to 30% coconut oil, which creates an amazing lather. If you feel like this is a lot, you can just reduce it down to 10%, or what we do in this recipe, remove it completely. Can you add essential oils or fragrance oils to this soap? Well, yes, you can. If you have very sensitive skin and you want to add these, you can add them in a low concentration. What does low concentration means? So typically I add anything between 35 to 50 grams of essential oils per 1,000 grams of oils. Meaning if my total oil concentration is 1,000 grams, I will add anything between 35 to 50 grams of essential oils. Now, if you have very sensitive skin, I would recommend you go lower. So you can add 20-25 grams of essential oils. But will it really matter? This soap will cure for literally more than 6 months. So usually during that time, a lot of essential oils will evaporate. You can add clays, you can add base like vetiver, patchouli, sandalwood, to basically try to make your essential oil blend more long lasting. But if 6 months or a year pass by, then the power of your essential oil blend will be less and less and less. Does it really matter to add essential oil blends? Not really. If you want to add something that will smell even after 6 or 12 months, you have to add probably fragrance oils. Now, fragrance oils are synthetic, while essential oils are natural. But fragrance oils, they are very stable compounds and they're very long lasting. What you have to make sure of when you buy fragrance oils is that they do not contain any phthalates or parabens, because those are hormonal disruptors. So you only have to buy safe fragrance oils from a trusted supplier that always provides the full list and the full concentration of each ingredient. And then you can also double check the ingredients, their IFRA level, if it's on the safe zone or not, and if any of those ingredients causes any allergies. Without further ado, let's start. So first step is that we're gonna make the lye solution. In order to make the lye solution, we need water and sodium hydroxide. We use sodium hydroxide because we're making solid soap. If we were to make liquid soap, we would use potassium hydroxide. So there are two things you need to remember here. First of all, we're gonna use distilled water. Can you make soap with tap water? Yes, you can, absolutely. But it does not provide you with consistent results. So tap water has a lot of trace metals like iron, zinc, and so on. And those can cause problems with saponification. They can even lead to dreaded orange spots afterwards. So what you want is that you need consistency over your batches. You need a water that does not contain a lot of impurities and a lot of salts, and that's why we're going to use distilled water. Then, when it comes to lye, you always have to remember the safety rules around lye. First of all, always wear protective gear, gloves, goggles, and so on. Second of all, always add the lye in the water, never the other way around. Imagine this. When you add sodium hydroxide into water, you're creating a highly exothermic reaction, so it starts producing a lot of heat and fumes, okay? If you were to do the other way around, add water into the lye, you would basically create a very concentrated solution of sodium hydroxide. So that will be even more exothermic than before. So always add lye in the water. And you add the lye in the water, you stir slowly, and you make sure you are in a well-ventilated area so that you don't basically inhale any of the fumes. One thing to note down here is that a very safe way to make lye, we're not going to do it today, is that you can take your distilled water and you can freeze it down. You can make ice cubes and then you add the lye into the ice cubes, and that's quite safe actually because you avoid all the overheating. This strategy is amazing if you're making a soap with a milk or a juice like carrot juice, coconut milk, goat milk, whatever. Then it's way better to freeze the juice and the milk down into ice cubes and then throw the lye there because you're avoiding all the overheating. Because juices and milks, they contain a lot of sugars and they tend to overheat a lot. I'm very excited for this, guys. I love making this soap, honestly, and I want to show you how simple it is and how amazing it is afterwards. You have to wait quite a lot of time, but I'm telling you, I promise you that you're gonna love this soap. Let's go ahead, pour lye into the water and make our lye solution. So I'm gonna go ahead and add distilled water. And now we're gonna go ahead and pour our lye. Now I'm gonna mix, and I'm actually going to take it outside in the garden to avoid smelling any fumes. Our lye solution is outside, cooling down. Let's go ahead and prep our oil solution. First, we're gonna take our shea butter, which is the only solid butter we have in this recipe, and we're gonna melt it down over a double boiler. Once it's melted, we're gonna add olive oil and castor oil. Let's go. And we're back. Our hard oil, which is only shea butter, is melted, and now we're gonna add our liquid oils, which is olive oil and castor oil. So let's go ahead with 70% olive oil, which is basically gonna be 700 grams because we're using 1,000 grams of total oil concentration. Olive oil. Now, before we continue, shea butter, I'm using refined organic shea butter. You can also use unrefined organic shea butter. The reason why I like to use refined is because I found that unrefined comes sometimes with an odor, and that odor, it's kind of like a farm-like odor. It can be quite overpowering. It can dominate over your fragrance oils and your essential oils. I once ruined a really big batch of soap, a Christmas soap, because I made it with unrefined shea butter. I added my fragrance oil, and a few weeks later I realized that the shea butter, the smell of the shea butter had completely overpowered my fragrance oil. Since then, I'm only using refined shea butter. Let's go ahead and add now 6% castor oil or 60 grams. So, do you know what we're gonna do now? We have our oil solution and our lye solution. Are we gonna mix them together? Not yet. We want to let them actually go down in temperature. I like to mix the oils and lye solution at around 30 degrees Celsius. Why do I do that? Because I've noticed that at that temperature I have a better control over my soap butter. If I mix them at a higher temperature, then sometimes the soap butter might accelerate very fast, especially if we're working with some fragrance oils or essential oils that accelerate trace. I've made a video on how to avoid trace acceleration. You can find it below in the description. So we're gonna wait for both our oils and lye solution to drop in low, similar temperature. So you don't want one of them to be at 30 and the other one at 40. That will create some separation. So always have to be at low, similar temperatures. Yeah, let's just wait. How's your week been? What have you been up to? Write down in the comments below. Where are you watching these videos from, by the way? Which part of the world? And tell me about your story. I would also like to know about your story. How did you start soap making? Are you a complete beginner? Have you been making soap for a while? And I would also like to know your biggest struggles. Like, what do you find most challenging about soap making? Is it, for example, trace acceleration? Is it that your scent fades very fast? What is it exactly that you find most challenging? Comment down below and I'll make sure I watch these comments. I'll reply to every single comment, and then I can also tailor some videos around the biggest pain points. So if I can find out what everyone's pain points are and find the most common ones, I can make a video around those. So I want to know more about you, so please comment below. And we're back, guys. It's time for the most exciting part of soap making recipe, which is mixing the oils and lye solution together and putting them into the mold. Let's go ahead and check the temperature. Oils 32 and lye 32 actually. That's good. So around 30 degrees, it's the perfect temperature. So let's go ahead, guys. I'm so excited for this. I'm gonna take my stick blender, put it like this, and I'm gonna pour the lye solution inside on top of the stick blender. I'm gonna do that to avoid any turbulence of basically pouring it directly into the oil. There you go. So the lye solution is in. Emulsification has already started. Let's start mixing. And see, slowly it starts emulsifying. Guys, we are ready. Look at that. So creamy, so gentle, so beautiful. Don't want to waste any of it. And now what I'm gonna do is that I like to shake the mold so that it goes everywhere, and I like to tap the mold to remove any trapped air bubbles. Trust me, that works, and you can even see some bubbles coming out here. I don't know if it's visible in the camera. Gently insulate it with some towels, like that. Yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Looking forward to it. And we're back. 24 hours have gone by and now we are ready to cut the soap. Before we do, let's talk about curing. So the special thing about this soap is that it needs minimum 6 months of curing. And that's because it has a very high concentration of olive oil. Now, why is that? Olive oil is high in oleic acid. So when oleic acid reacts with sodium hydroxide, it produces sodium oleate, and this is the salt that gives conditioning properties to your soap. Now, the problem here is that oleic acid is a very long fatty acid chain compared to other fatty acids like lauric acid from coconut oil. So because it's very long, it takes more time to be converted into soap. So that's why your soap needs curing for such a long time when it has a high concentration of olive oil. And usually soaps like the Castile soap that have even higher olive oil concentration, they are cured for a year. Now, what happens if you use the soap before that? Let's say you use it after 6 weeks. I've tried that. And what happens is that basically your soap feels very, 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 very slimy during that process. It almost melts actually in your hand, so it's not pleasant at all. So during the curing time, the oleic acid is getting converted to sodium oleate, it's getting converted to soap, and also a lot of water is evaporated during the curing time and the soap becomes harder and harder. So guys, here comes the very exciting part of soap cutting. So let's go ahead and remove the towels. So let's go and pull it out. I like to use a peeler to remove the edges here. This is just optional, you don't have to do that. Wow, look at that. It's so beautiful. Now let's talk about stamping, and stamping here is very important. So what I like to do when I stamp the soaps, I like to use a plastic film in between the soap stamp and the soap. The reason I do this is that I've noticed that when I try to stamp a soap with a high concentration of olive oil, which will mean that it also has a high concentration of linoleic acid, then it's prone to oxidation. So you can see right here where the logo is, right here where I stamped, we have dreaded orange spots, and this is because basically the metal stamp, the metal ions, accelerated oxidation of linoleic acid because we have olive oil, and olive oil does contain linoleic acid, and then it turned out like that. And of course this is totally safe to use, but aesthetically is not that beautiful, so that's why I always use a plastic film to protect the soap. So let's go ahead and stamp. Wow, this is beautiful. Wow, I love it. Look at that too, beautiful. It's ready and it looks amazing. It smells like soap. As I said, I believe that soap has a very characteristic smell and I love it. Yeah, I'm looking forward now. I'm gonna set it aside, cure it in a dry and cool place for minimum 6 months, and then I know I've been using this soap for a while and the result is phenomenal. We have conditioning properties from olive oil, we have creaminess from shea butter, and thickness and lather boost from castor oil. 5% superfat will do the work. If you want this recipe, remember to click I want this and I will send to you. I created a free PDF that has the exact recipe and also some instructions on how to use soapcalc.net. Without further ado, I will go ahead and also have a video tutorial on how to actually make the soap calc recipe. I would like to say thank you for watching until here. I really appreciate you guys. I hope I could really add some value to you with this video, and I'm looking forward to see you next time. See you. Welcome to the soapcalc.net tutorial. Let's see how we measure this recipe. We go to recipe calculator. We choose sodium hydroxide in the type of lye because we're making solid soap. If we were to make liquid soap, we would use potassium hydroxide. In the grams, I used a total 1000 grams of oils. Lye concentration, I used 33%. Superfat, we leave it at 5%, and fragrance at 0%. Then let's go here and we're gonna choose our oils. So first of all we have olive oil, then we have shea butter, and then we have castor oil here. So we're gonna go ahead and have 70% olive oil, 24% shea butter, and 6% castor oil. We'll click calculate recipe and then viewer print recipe, and here it is. So you have this beautiful layout here that's very detailed, and basically it shows you how much water you need to add, 256 grams, how much lye you need to add in the water. It tells you the grams of each oil, and then it also shows you the properties of your soap. This is very key right here because those numbers here will give you a prediction of how your soap will look like and how it will behave. So you can see it says something about the hardness, the cleansing. Of course, the cleansing is 0 because we do not have any coconut oil. The bubbly, it's only 5 because we don't have coconut oil, we only have castor oil, and so on. So this can give you a very good prediction of how your soap will look like. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time.